principles of design. If the element of art is about line, shape, form, value, color, texture, space, or the building blocks of art, then the principle of design explain how the artists use those blocks, how they choose to build. So my group will discuss what are the principles of design. First, the unity and harmony. What is unity? So unity is the principle of design that unifies all the other principles within a piece of work and allowing each individual elements to coexist with one another to form an aesthetically pleasing design. Also, unity is all about creating harmony in your designs. It involves using harmonious colors, shapes, and textures, balancing positive and negative space, and playing with repetition, proximity, and alignment. So what is harmony? Harmony refers to a way of combining elements to accent their similarities. A picture seems to be bound together as a whole when the elements are harmonious, and it tends to have a visual satisfying effect. It is difficult to achieve unity without harmony. Harmony is accomplished by repetition of a particular element, such as color, shape, texture, and etc. That harmony is what creates the sense of unity. While harmony and unity are the key elements of any design, and too much of it will make the room look boring and uninteresting. You do need to include a few distinct elements into your design to infuse visual interest. Think of it this way. Harmony and unity should be the foundation of your design.
Rhythm and variation.
Rhythm is a repetitive organized movement or visual flow within an image. There is something similar that gets repeated over and over, but it forms a type of rhythm that you know what to expect next, just like when you clap your hand in a beat. Rhythm in art and design refers to a relationship between elements that create sense of harmony. Rhythm can be seen in patterns, in relationships between colors and shapes, and in repetitions of lines and forms. In the visual arts, music, and literature, repetition of color, shape, melody, or idea serves to prevent chaos and establish a mood. Common visual repetitions in art include spirals, blades, and waves. As we see in the next photo of the checker design, too much repetition can result in boredom or stagnation. It is using a range of different qualities or instances of an art element to create a desired visual effect. Example, variety of shapes, colors, etc. Variation adds interest and surprise and can also serve to move the viewer's eye in a certain direction. However, as we see in the next photo, too much variation can be overwhelming and suffering.
Balance and proportion.
Hi, I'm going to explain what is balance and proportion in terms of principles of design. The first principles of design is balance. So what is balance? Creates a sense of stability and cohesiveness. Balance is the distribution of the visual weight of objects, colors, textures, and space. If the design was a scale, these elements should be balanced to make a design feel stable. And there are three kinds of balance And this is our symmetrical balance, asymmetrical balance, and radial balance. In symmetrical balance, the elements used on one side of the design are similar to those on the other side. In asymmetrical balance, the sides are different but still look balanced. In radial balance, the elements are arranged around a central point and may be similar. The second principles of this portion. What is proportion? Refers to the dimensions of a composition and relationships between height, width, and depth. Proportion is the feeling of unity created when all parts, such as sizes, amounts, or numbers, and it is relate well with each other. When drawing the human figure, proportion can refer to the size of the head compared to the rest of the body. And that would be all. Thank you.
Emphasis and subordination. Emphasis in art refers to the principle of creating a focal point to make a certain element stand out. Artists use many techniques to create emphasis, and some artists become famous for the specific method they use. Emphasis is a principle of art which occurs anytime an element of a piece is given dominance by the artist. In other words, the artist makes part of the work stand out to attract the viewer's attention to a particular area or object. This is typically the focal point or main subject of the artwork. For instance, in a portrait painting, the artist usually wants to see the person's face first. Any piece of art may have more than one area of emphasis. However, one typically dominates over all others. If two or more are given equal importance, your eye does not know how to interpret it. This confusion may lead you to not enjoy an otherwise good piece of work. One might argue that all worthy works of art employs emphasis. If a piece lacks this principle, it may seem monotonous and boring to the eye. However, some artists play with the lack of emphasis on purpose and use it to create visually impactful pieces. Andy Warhol, Campbell's Soup Cans, 1961 are a perfect example of lack of emphasis. When the series of canvases are hung on the wall, the entire assembly lacks any real subject, yet the magnitude of the collection repetition leaves an impression nonetheless. Frequently, an emphasis is achieved by the means of contrast. Contrast can be achieved in a variety of ways, and artists often employ more than one technique in a single piece. A contrast in color, value, and texture can certainly draw you to a particular area. Likewise, when one object is significantly larger or in the foreground, it becomes the focal point because the perspective or depth draw us in. Many artists will also strategically place their subject in the composition in areas that are known to attract attention. That may be directly in the center, but more often than not, it is off to one side or another. It might also be isolated from other elements through placement, tone, or depth. Yet, another way to add emphasis is to use repetition. If you have a series of similar elements, then interruption that pattern in some way, that naturally gets noticed. As you study art, remain mindful of emphasis. Look at how each piece of art naturally directs your eye around the piece. What techniques did the artist use to achieve this? What they did want to see at first glance. Sometimes the emphasis is very subtle, and at the other times it is anything but. These are the little surprises that artists leave us, and discovering them is what makes creative work so interesting. Subordination is defined as minimizing or toning down other compositional elements in order to bring attention to the focal point. Focal point refers to an area in the composition that has the most significance, an area that artists want to draw attention to as the most important aspect. It is used to describe the secondary or accent elements of the artwork. While artists emphasize the focal point, They can also de-emphasize the other elements to ensure the main subject stand out. An artist may, for instance, use red on the subject while leaving the rest of the painting in every muted browns. The viewer's eye is automatically drawn to the pop of color. Emphasis and subordination. What is emphasis? Emphasis is like making something outstanding. When artists make an artwork, the subject will be emphasized so the viewers will notice it. There are many things to emphasize, such as to emphasize every stroke of an artwork, or to make the drawing lively, or to emphasize the subject to give its meaning clearly. In other words, the artist make the artwork stand out. To emphasize the details of your artwork, the artist will use contrasts in colors and in shapes. Subordination. What is subordination? Subordination is the secondary accent of elements in artwork. It's like making the artwork detail less outstanding that the subject will be the focus.